Hugh Jackman, one of Hollywood's most enduring and widely admired leading men, has built a career defined by versatility, discipline, and an image of remarkable consistency. From blockbuster franchises to the world's most prestigious theater stages, his professional life has often appeared carefully balanced and deeply grounded. Yet, beyond the spotlight, his romantic history tells a story shaped by long-term commitment, unexpected turning points, and a highly publicized new chapter. But behind the polished public persona, who are the people who truly shaped Hugh Jackman's journey through love? In this video, we take a deep dive into the complete dating history of Hugh Jackman, from his earliest known relationships to the present day. Born in Sydney, Australia, Hugh Michael Jackman grew up far from the Hollywood spotlight that would later define his public life. Raised in a middle-class family, his early years were shaped by discipline, education, and a strong sense of responsibility. Long before fame entered the picture, Jackman showed an interest in performance, eventually training in drama and musical theater. These formative experiences not only refined his craft, but also instilled a work ethic that would become central to both his career and personal relationships. Jackman's professional breakthrough came in the mid-1990s, when he began appearing in Australian television and theatre productions. One of his earliest notable roles was in the television series Corelli, where his presence quickly stood out. At this stage of his life, Jackman was still largely unknown outside Australia, and his romantic life remained private, untouched by tabloid scrutiny. However, this period marked a crucial turning point. As his acting opportunities expanded, so did the trajectory of his personal life. The late 1990s brought a rapid transformation. Jackman transitioned from local recognition to international stardom with remarkable speed, most notably after being cast as Wolverine in the X-Men franchise. The role not only established him as a global action star, but also reshaped his public image. He became known as a rare combination of physical intensity and emotional restraint, a performer capable of balancing blockbuster appeal with theatrical depth. As his fame grew, public interest in his private life intensified accordingly. Unlike many of his contemporaries, Jackman did not initially embrace a high-profile dating lifestyle. While other rising stars of the era became fixtures of gossip columns, he appeared to move in the opposite direction. His public appearances were measured, his interviews carefully framed, and his personal life largely shielded from speculation. This contrast only heightened curiosity. Audiences began to perceive him as an anomaly in Hollywood, someone whose off-screen life seemed unusually stable in an industry defined by excess and volatility. As his career continued to ascend, Jackman faced a challenge common to many actors who achieve sudden fame: balancing relentless professional demands with the need for emotional grounding. Film schedules became longer, promotional tours more global, and expectations increasingly intense. It was during this period, as his career momentum accelerated, that his most significant romantic relationship began to take shape. This relationship would soon become central to both his personal narrative and his public identity. With success came scrutiny, and with scrutiny came fascination. Media outlets and fans alike began to view Jackman not only as a performer, but as a symbol of longevity and reliability. Yet the question remained: how would this carefully constructed balance between fame and intimacy hold up over time? And as his career continued to evolve, would his personal life remain as steady as it appeared? This marked the beginning of a defining chapter in Hugh Jackman's romantic history, one that would shape his public image for decades to come. Hugh Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness were in a relationship from 1995 to 2023. Their story began at a pivotal moment in Jackman's life, before international fame reshaped his world, and it would go on to become one of the longest and most closely watched marriages in modern Hollywood. They met while working together on the Australian television series Corelli in 1995. At the time, Furness was already an established actress in Australia, widely respected for her work in film and television. Jackman, by contrast, was a young drama school graduate still finding his footing in the industry. The dynamic between them was notable from the beginning. Furness was older, more experienced, and already familiar with the demands of public life, while Jackman was at the very start of a career filled with uncertainty and ambition. Their connection developed quickly. Jackman would later describe the experience as immediate and deeply personal, suggesting that he recognized the significance of the relationship early on. Within a year of meeting, the couple married in 1996, at a time when Jackman's career had not yet exploded internationally. The decision reflected a commitment built on private certainty rather than public calculation. As Jackman's career accelerated in the late 1990s and early 2000s, their marriage entered a new phase. His casting as Wolverine in X-Men transformed him into a global star almost overnight. With this rise came intense media scrutiny, extended periods of separation due to filming schedules, and the pressures associated with sudden fame. Throughout this transition, Furness remained a consistent presence, often described as a grounding force during a period of dramatic professional change. Their relationship was frequently characterized as stable and mutually supportive. Public appearances together were measured rather than performative, and interviews emphasized partnership rather than spectacle. Unlike many Hollywood couples, they rarely fueled tabloid narratives. Instead, they projected an image of deliberate normalcy, one rooted in shared values and long-term planning. One of the most defining aspects of their marriage was their decision to build a family through adoption. The couple adopted 2 children, a choice they spoke about openly in interviews, often framing it as a deeply intentional and personal decision. Parenthood further reinforced their public image as a family-oriented unit, setting them apart in an industry often associated with fractured domestic lives. Despite their seemingly solid foundation, the marriage was not without challenges. Jackman's career required constant travel and prolonged absences, while Furness maintained her own professional pursuits and advocacy work. Balancing 2 demanding lives under constant public attention required negotiation and compromise. Yet for many years, their ability to maintain the relationship under such conditions was viewed as exceptional. As time passed, their marriage came to symbolize endurance. Media narratives often contrasted Jackman's long-term commitment with the shorter, more volatile relationships of his peers. He was frequently cited as an example of stability, a leading man whose private life appeared immune to the turbulence of fame. This perception became deeply embedded in his public identity. However, longevity alone does not guarantee permanence. By the early 2020s, subtle shifts began to emerge. Public appearances together became less frequent, and interviews increasingly focused on individual growth rather than shared future plans. While neither party publicly acknowledged difficulties at the time, observers noted a gradual change in tone. In September 2023, Jackman and Furness announced that they had separated after nearly 3 decades together. The statement emphasized mutual respect and personal growth, carefully avoiding blame or specific causes. The announcement marked the end of one of Hollywood's most admired marriages and immediately sparked widespread discussion. The separation raised inevitable questions. How does a relationship that lasts nearly 30 years come to an end? Was the pressure of fame a contributing factor, or had their lives simply evolved in different directions? While no detailed explanations were offered publicly, the framing of the announcement suggested a conscious decision made after prolonged reflection rather than a sudden rupture. Though no longer together, the 2 maintained a respectful public posture. There were no public disputes, no competing narratives, and no effort to reshape the past. Instead, their shared history was acknowledged as meaningful and transformative. For Jackman, this chapter represented not only a personal loss, but a profound shift in how the public understood his life off-screen. This relationship, spanning from early ambition to global superstardom, became the emotional backbone of his romantic timeline. It shaped his image, influenced how audiences perceived his values, and set a benchmark against which all future relationships would inevitably be compared. But was this long and defining marriage also the relationship that permanently shaped his understanding of love? Or did its ending signal the beginning of an entirely new phase in his emotional life? What followed would place Hugh Jackman's romantic history under a very different kind of spotlight. Following the announcement of his separation from Deborah Lee Furness in September 2023, Hugh Jackman entered a markedly different phase of his personal life. For the first time in decades, the actor was publicly navigating life outside the framework of a long-term marriage. While the separation statement emphasized gratitude and mutual respect, it also signaled a period of transition, one that would inevitably draw heightened media attention. In the months that followed, Jackman maintained a relatively low profile regarding his private life. His public appearances focused largely on professional commitments, and interviews avoided detailed discussion of the separation. This restraint aligned with the approach he had taken throughout his marriage, acknowledging major life events without inviting speculation. Yet, as is often the case with high-profile figures, silence did little to quell curiosity. During this transitional period, attention gradually shifted toward Sutton Foster, a Tony Award-winning actress and singer, best known for her work on Broadway. Jackman and Foster had worked together on the Broadway revival of The Music Man, which opened in early 2022 and ran through early 2023. Their on-stage chemistry was widely praised, and behind the scenes, the two developed a close professional rapport. At the time, both were married, and there was no public suggestion of a romantic relationship. Their connection was framed strictly in professional terms, with interviews emphasizing mutual respect and admiration as performers. However, following Jackman's separation, retrospective attention began to focus on this period of collaboration. Media narratives, fueled by timing rather than confirmation, speculated on whether the foundations of a deeper relationship had been laid during their time working together. In early 2025, reports emerged that Jackman and Foster were in a relationship. Unlike the quiet discretion that marked his marriage, this new chapter unfolded under intense public scrutiny from the outset. The two were photographed together in public settings, and their appearances quickly became headline material. While neither initially offered detailed commentary, their continued visibility signaled a willingness to acknowledge the relationship rather than conceal it. The contrast with Jackman's previous romantic chapter was striking. After decades defined by stability and continuity, this relationship represented change, both in timing and in public perception. Foster herself had recently experienced a major personal transition, adding further complexity to the narrative constructed by media outlets. As a result, their relationship was often discussed not only as a romance, but as a convergence of two individuals emerging from significant life shifts. Despite widespread speculation, confirmed details remained limited. What could be stated with certainty was the timeline: a professional collaboration during The Music Man, followed by Jackman's separation, and later the emergence of a public romantic relationship. Beyond these facts, much of the surrounding commentary relied on inference rather than evidence. In keeping with his established pattern, Jackman refrained from offering a counter-narrative, allowing events to speak for themselves. Public reaction was mixed. Some observers expressed surprise, viewing the relationship as a sharp departure from the image he had cultivated for decades. Others framed it as a natural evolution, emphasizing the reality that long-term relationships can end without diminishing their significance. The discussion underscored a broader theme that had followed Jackman throughout his career: the tension between public expectation and private reality. As the relationship continued, Jackman and Foster appeared increasingly comfortable being seen together at public events. Their interactions suggested ease and familiarity, though neither positioned the relationship as a definitive statement about the future. This ambiguity left room for interpretation, reinforcing the sense that Jackman was navigating uncharted emotional territory after years of predictability. For audiences accustomed to viewing him as a symbol of constancy, this chapter introduced uncertainty. Was this a temporary connection formed during a period of transition, or the beginning of something more enduring? And how did this relationship reshape his understanding of love after nearly 30 years in a single partnership? What was clear, however, was that Hugh Jackman's romantic timeline had entered a new and highly visible phase, one that invited comparison, reflection, and reassessment. But beyond confirmed relationships, there were also rumors and brief speculations that circulated during these transitional years. Throughout his career, Hugh Jackman has largely avoided the kind of persistent dating rumors that often follow Hollywood stars. For much of his adult life, his long marriage to Deborah Lee Furness effectively placed boundaries around public speculation. As a result, the number of rumored relationships associated with him remains relatively limited, particularly when compared to peers with similarly long careers. Still, during transitional periods, especially those marked by professional change or personal upheaval, speculation did emerge. In the years following his rise to international fame in the late 1990s and early 2000s, Jackman was occasionally linked by tabloids to female co-stars or public figures he appeared alongside at premieres and industry events. These rumors typically followed a familiar pattern: a shared red carpet appearance, a friendly interview exchange, or visible camaraderie during promotional tours. However, in most cases, these stories lacked corroboration and faded quickly. Several entertainment outlets speculated that Jackman may have had brief flings during extended filming schedules abroad, particularly during the peak years of the X-Men franchise. These claims were never substantiated, and no credible evidence emerged to suggest that any such relationships existed. Given the consistency of his public appearances with Furness during this period, many observers dismissed these rumors as routine byproducts of fame rather than indicators of actual romantic involvement. In some instances, Jackman was rumored to have shared a close bond with female stage or film collaborators, particularly those with whom he demonstrated strong on-screen or on-stage chemistry. Industry insiders often emphasized that such chemistry is a professional requirement rather than a personal signal. In Jackman's case, no co-star ever publicly confirmed a romantic relationship, and none of these rumors were supported by consistent reporting. Following the announcement of his separation in 2023, speculation briefly intensified. As Jackman appeared alone at events or in the company of friends, social media narratives filled the absence of confirmed information with conjecture. During this period, he was loosely linked to several unnamed individuals based on proximity or timing alone. These claims, however, were short-lived and unsupported. One recurring theme across these rumors was their lack of longevity. Unlike verified relationships that unfolded over years, rumored flings associated with Jackman tended to surface briefly before disappearing from public discourse. This pattern suggests that media speculation often reflected audience expectations rather than documented reality. Importantly, Jackman never addressed these rumors directly. His approach mirrored that of earlier years: silence in the absence of factual reporting. This strategy, while sometimes criticized as evasive, effectively prevented speculation from solidifying into narrative. Without confirmation, interviews, or repeated sightings, rumors lacked the substance required to persist. In contrast to celebrities whose romantic histories are defined by a long list of short-term relationships, Jackman's timeline remains notably restrained. The scarcity of verified relationships outside his marriage and his later partnership with Sutton Foster reinforces the perception that he has consistently prioritized privacy over publicity. As with many public figures, the line between curiosity and conjecture proved difficult to manage during moments of personal change. Yet even amid heightened attention, Jackman's romantic history remained anchored in documented relationships rather than rumor-driven storytelling. Despite persistent speculation over the years, separating fact from fiction remains essential to understanding his true romantic timeline. Despite decades of public visibility, many claims surrounding Hugh Jackman's romantic life have remained speculative rather than factual. Over the years, several long-standing rumors have circulated, often repeated without verification and amplified by assumptions tied to his on-screen chemistry or public demeanor. A careful review of available information, however, reveals that many of these narratives lack credible evidence. One persistent misconception involved alleged relationships with various co-stars throughout the X-Men franchise and other major projects. While Jackman frequently displayed warmth and professionalism in interviews and public appearances, there is no reliable documentation confirming romantic involvement with any of these individuals. In most cases, the rumors appeared to stem from promotional interactions or audience interpretation rather than substantiated reporting. Another recurring topic of speculation centered on the stability of his marriage during the height of his fame. For years, tabloids periodically suggested marital strain or secret affairs, yet none of these claims were supported by verified sources, public statements, or consistent investigative reporting. Both Jackman and Deborah Lee Furness continued to present a united front throughout these periods, reinforcing the absence of evidence behind such allegations. Following the announcement of their separation, some narratives attempted to retroactively reinterpret past events as signs of hidden conflict. This revisionist approach relied heavily on hindsight rather than contemporaneous facts. Importantly, neither Jackman nor Furness has endorsed these interpretations, and no credible accounts have emerged to validate them. By distinguishing between documented relationships and unsupported claims, a clearer picture of Jackman's romantic history emerges. His love life, while subject to public fascination, has been shaped far more by long-term commitment and measured transitions than by scandal or secrecy. With rumors addressed and misinformation clarified, what remains is a relationship timeline defined not by speculation, but by significant emotional chapters. Through decades of fame, professional reinvention, and public admiration, Hugh Jackman's romantic history reveals a pattern defined less by excess and more by commitment. Unlike many figures whose love lives are marked by constant change, his timeline is anchored by a single, long-term partnership that shaped both his private world and his public image. For nearly 30 years, his marriage to Deborah Lee Furness stood as a rare example of stability in an industry often associated with impermanence. That stability, however, did not exist in isolation. It developed alongside an increasingly demanding career, global recognition, and prolonged periods under public scrutiny. Jackman's professional success required constant movement, emotional adaptability, and reinvention, qualities that can strengthen a partnership but also place it under sustained pressure. Over time, the balance between personal growth and shared direction appears to have shifted. A defining pattern in Jackman's romantic life is his tendency toward depth rather than frequency. Rather than moving through a succession of short-lived relationships, he invested heavily in a single bond, building a shared family life and a carefully protected private sphere. When that chapter ended, it did so without public conflict, suggesting a deliberate and reflective approach rather than impulsive rupture. The emergence of a new relationship following such a long marriage introduced contrast rather than contradiction. His connection with Sutton Foster, formed in a different stage of life and under different circumstances, reflects change rather than erasure. It underscores a broader truth often overlooked in celebrity narratives, that personal evolution does not negate past commitment, but exists alongside it. Another recurring theme is Jackman's consistent resistance to defining his romantic life through public explanation. At every major turning point, he has opted for restraint, allowing time and visible actions to convey meaning instead of extended commentary. This approach has preserved ambiguity, but it has also maintained dignity, both his own and that of those involved. Ultimately, Hugh Jackman's love life mirrors the complexities of long-term adulthood rather than the volatility often expected of stardom. It is a timeline shaped by devotion, transition, and recalibration rather than scandal. His romantic history suggests a man continually negotiating the space between personal fulfillment and public expectation. As this chapter continues to unfold, one question remains open, not only for audiences, but perhaps for Jackman himself. After a lifetime defined by loyalty, growth, and change, what does lasting love look like now?